Yeah. Let's call the meeting to order. Roll call. Kim Spencer. Here. Bill Goggins, absent. Jimmy Wright. Here. Bill Beadlemaster. Present. Mitch Skinner, I'm here. Next item is review and approval of the minutes of the, looks like we've got two sets of minutes, one for the regular meeting of September 5, 2017, and the special call meeting of September 8, 2017.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is review and approval of the operating report. Think we can go that long?
I think so.
Have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the operating report. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Next item is consideration of construction pay requests. Like we've got.
We have several. And you didn't see those earlier because they came in kind of late. I'll give them a review.
Rather than reading all those, you just want to do this by incorporation, by reference of the document of October 2017 style invoices for payment approval.
Only issue I have with that, there's a couple that I'd like to have a little retainage on.
Okay, well, those are which ones you want us to approve.
You have two for Bell that are good, one for Ground Solutions. You have two for Boca, 1692 and 93. I'd like to retain 10% on both of those. And then the other two, Boca and Thomas Environmental, are all good.
So 1692 and 1693, rather than the amount stated, you want to reduce those by 10% each?
Correct, just for retainage.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Second.
Or second? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is review and approval of monthly invoices.
I make a motion to approve legal services.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Other operating invoices. Any comments, anybody have any questions or comments? Have a motion to approve, pay the operating invoices.
Make a motion.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Departmental reports.
You have printed reports from each of the departments. Anybody have anything they need to add to the reports? I think I would like to comment, now that he's here, kind of relates to some of the things we've got going on. I had an editorial in the Paintsville Herald a couple of weeks ago regarding the I&I project. Just an informative thing for the public to see what's going on. It was very nicely done, and appreciate that. That really helps out. And another article here, a number of our employees are involved in the Kentucky Watershed Watch program, monitoring the quality of the streams, and particularly looking at the streams that feed Paintsville Lake primarily. And Mr. Whitson went out with a couple of our guys this past time and took some pictures and wrote an article about it. And he's giving our guys some credit for their participation, but probably even more importantly, he's encouraging other people to volunteer. And it's important that that program has community volunteers. So once again, and let you know, this article has been shared statewide. It's being used as an example for water companies across the state. So.
Anything else? Next item is old business, the downtown I&I project.
Actually, as far as it is to believe, we are making a little progress on contract 2. I'm actually still working up there at the screening facility, Honey Branch. Contract 2 being substation work and so forth, that is underway. We're expecting contract 1, which is pipeline work and the actual separation of the storm and sewer, to begin next week, if not sooner. I've actually been out in the field doing some looking around today, and expecting pipe in tomorrow. Anything else you know of me to add?
Other ongoing projects.
Yeah, in a way, we kind of covered those on these invoices. The exception of a little dress-up work, the Walnut Avenue project is done. The alley between 10th and 11th Street, the pipeline work is done. It needs to be resurfaced. Some cleanup work to do. 6th Street project, it looks like we're ready to roll on it. We have all the easements we required for that. Taze Branch, the left-hand fork, is complete. The right-hand fork, the sewer line is complete, and we're nearing completion on the water and gas lines.
Was there anybody tied into those once we put them in, or?
Not this project, that's for development.
We need to address anything on Ground Solutions where they, it's like committee to change order on that.
Actually, let's don't address that right now. I'm actually seeking another quote on that. Before we discuss that amount, I'd like to see what the other quote is.
Next item is new business. First item is Route 40 West Bridge replacement.
Yes, that's the bridge right before you get to the Dauphin County line. It is being replaced and requires rerouting our water line. And really all I'm needing right now is the authority to sign the keep costs contract with the Transportation Cabinet. David has reviewed that.
Make a motion to give Bob the authority to sign.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. It's $99,050. Is that our responsibility?
No, it's state funded.
Next item B is authority for pay request on the RD projects.
Yes, after our pre-closing conference on the I&I project, it was suggested that we seek authority from City Council for the General Manager of the Utilities to sign pay requests on that, simplifies things. Won't bother the mayor with it that way. And we had a meeting with Bill on the PAL Edition project, had a similar request on that project as well. The General Manager be authorized to sign pay request.
I have a motion for purposes of creating the resolution.
Make a motion for request for resolution to allow Bob to sign.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is Busch Gardens Wastewater Association.
Yes, we have representatives here. Roger, you speaking?
James,
Okay.
you're the resident, and I'm working with these guys. You want to introduce it?
Okay. What we have is, I'm James Mellon. What we have is Busch Gardens. We have 8 households. We have $123.65 a month sewer bill. That's the highest per capita usage, of my understanding, in the state. that was awarded by the Public Service Commission. What we're seeking to do is to get rid of the packaging plant that we have for 2-4 out for you guys to supply some line for approximately 3.5 miles from the closest town. So what we're wanting to do is put a leach field in. We're working on funding for that. It looks promising. The person that owns the property has agreed to give us the property. What we need from you guys is you guys to an agreement that if people in the association don't pay their sewer bill, that you'll be to cut their water off, so that we can make sure that they do pay their fee. This will reduce our sewer bills by about half. So that's basically all we need from you, from my understanding. We don't need an inspection from you guys or anything like that. We just basically need that simple agreement. So we're basically at your mercy. It's the only way we have to ensure that any residents that come and go will pay the bill. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob.
Billing as well.
Oh, okay. You would need to, we would agree to do billing for us. It's like $6. I'll just read you what he's got here. He says annual system management cost, customer sewer bill and accounting services would be a contract between us and you guys. Note, yet a non-negotiated contract for this service is estimated to be priced at $6 per customer per month, or 6 times 8, which would equal $48 times 12, which would be $576 per month, or per year rather. We would, you want to go to the...
That's it, you covered that.
I'm sorry?
You covered it just that earlier.
All right.
There's really, James mentioned, those are the only 2 items, and I erroneously mentioned to Bob by word of mouth that there was an inspection, an annual inspection by a certified installer, and that is not, in fact, in the department's regulations. The department we're talking about here is the Kentucky Department for Public Health. They would oversee, with the Johnson County Health Department, they would oversee the development of what's called a cluster system. It's a community drain field for all 8 homes. We've been working with the Bowlings. Bowlings are the owners of the, specifically it's Busch Gardens Enterprises LLC is the owner of the subdivision. They have very generously agreed to provide the work and the equipment necessary to install. And then we are working with the community. We're trying to come up with the resources to purchase the materials for the drain field. We will be using what is the tradition now anyway, and that is infiltrators or something akin to that. The chambers, if you're all familiar with that process in a community drain field. So it would be structured for 8. Originally, we're talking about going ahead and doing the review, the assessment on the site for soils purposes for a total of 16, with the understanding that only the property necessary to build the first 8, the existing houses, would be in place. And if in fact additional lots are sold, then the drain field would be incrementally increased. Every time there is a house sold, then there would be a specific amount of property donated again by the Bowlings to accommodate that new one. So this seems to be an agreeable approach with the Department of Public Health, and we would really be looking to you all, if you all would consider it, doing the billing on a monthly basis to the residents. As you bill for water, you would bill for sewer on a flat rate, and then you would, same way, if someone failed to make payment, you would follow your standard procedure with regard to termination of water service for failure to pay sewer bill. And with that said, that's really it. The only thing that we envision, and we're open, we're obviously trying this as tight as a drum as it is. We have come up with total costs for the sewer bill would be right in the range of $70.88 a month with these figures. But if your all's costs dictate a greater amount on a per monthly basis, there's no question, be willing to work with you on that as well.
Roger, what does that sewer bill money go towards?
We are, again, following the Department for Public Health's rules in that it has to basically supply not only the cost or reimbursement or cost. We're going to end up borrowing somewhere in the neighborhood of about $35,000, it looks like, to be able to cover the incidental costs of having an engineer draw the plans and specs that has specific experience with on-site systems, get project inspected during construction, and then legal services. And then in addition to that, it's about $14,500, as I said, for materials to do the community drain field. So we have to pay that loan off. And then in addition, the rate that would be charged on a monthly basis to the customer would also include the O&M on an annual basis, the mowing of the field. It has to be mowed at least once a month for approximately 6 months out of the year. And there does have to be a escrow account established for the replacement of the system over a 20-year period. So there's a fee adjusted with that on an annual basis. If in the meantime something does happen and there has to be a repair made to the field, the association, and the association, by the way, is not your typical homeowners association. It's solely dedicated to the sewer project. So there's no other common properties or anything like that involved. It's strictly focused on the wastewater system itself. It is being developed under Chapter 273, the nonprofit corporation statute. And so it would be bills, when the bills were collected on a monthly basis, based on this rate, there would be escrow accounts maintained. If something dire does happen, there's a major problem with with a rose in the filter bed, then that fee would be tapped, that escrow fee would be tapped, and then you would adjust the long-term payment forward so that ultimately you still have payment for completely renovating the system.
Is the association, that's the homeowners themselves?
That's correct.
Now, when this money is due, I mean, are they gonna have their own bookkeeper, or how are they gonna, how are you gonna know all the ins and outs of the escrows, incros, and
And a good point. The rate, once it's established, and again, the rate would be collected by you all, and it would be paid back. You all would withdraw whatever fee we negotiate with you for that service. And then there's another one that we put in there, and I don't know whether if you all have this sheet or not. We did put one in there for a stationary, but I don't know what else you would call it, an escrow account, that if in fact on an annual basis, let's just say for sake of argument, if two folks decide that they, for whatever reason, can't pay the bill and you all have to separate them, you have to take them off the system, we put in an escrow amount of $200 a year to reimburse you all for at least 2 of such occurrences. If we discover that that's going to happen more often, which we don't think will, then we would increase that amount. But right now, there's that $200 or that $100 per incident. If you all would disconnect the meter and the service for whatever reason is not reimbursed, let's just say that somebody leaves the community, at that point you all would make that known, and then you all would be reimbursed $100 per incident of if somebody does leave and does not make payment on the sewer bill. So just basically for the headache of trying to keep up with it. But with regard, with your specific question, we envision that there would be a community bookkeeper, that would be retained. None of the residents, and all of the residents have agreed to this, that any services associated with this would be contracted out. I mean, if that's something else we could contract with you guys, we would jump on that. But if it was just someone who would do the bookkeeping for this process, it would be done under a contract. Likewise with the engineer, and likewise with any work that's done. If for whatever reason there's an issue and a repair has to be made, we would contract that out to a certified contractor or certified installer.
Is there any liability to us by doing this?
None that we can see. You all, we're dealing through the nonprofit corporation, we'd be dealing directly with the owner of the subdivision. So there would be, you all would not have any relationship with any of the not just that individual or that family, but with any other contractor. If we contract somebody to do the billing or excuse me, not the billing, you guys are the natural for that if you would consider it, but the bookkeeping, that would be a responsibility back with regard to the association. In the same way with repairs, same way with mowing, all those things would be dealt with by separate contracts directly between the homeowners association and that individual.
So currently, the homeowners are paying Busch Gardens LLC $125 each month for services he's not rendering.
Yeah, it's $123.65 as I recall. That's, well, really, that can't go there. I can just tell you that the fee was established by the Kentucky Public Service Commission, and the package treatment plant is in an enforcement action right now. And we met by conference call with 3 of the residents, plus the Division of Water, the Division of Enforcement, the enforcement branch of the Energy and Environment Cabinet, plus legal staff of the AG's office, the owner himself, as well as his attorney, all on a conference call Friday, and there was a consensus of the proposal, and I've got a copy of it if you all are interested in seeing that, where there's about 17 steps in this whole process, and there was a consensus agreement to following this process as of this past Friday.
I think there's a lot of positives there. The only negative thing that I can see is that if somebody decides they're not satisfied or don't like the sewer part of it and they opt out, we could lose a water customer by having to cut them off for non-payment.
Yeah, that's true too.
We could lose several customers that way.
One of
But that not necessarily that would happen, but that.
It does follow the way they, and the health department is, or excuse me, the State Department for Public Health are the one that actually set this up, and I finally got my hands on a copy of that thing this past Friday, late Friday afternoon, and it does follow the property. So this whole thing is set up so that part of the agreement on the owner's part is they're going to change the subdivision regulations to encapsulate everything we just talked about. So that if somebody does not make payment on their sewer bill, they anticipate water being withdrawn, etc.
Who's gonna own the property where the leach bed is?
This association will be deeded that property. Once, the first step is that we have to get that property sampled, and we are hopefully going to be able to sample a sufficient volume of the property to accommodate not only the first 8, but any subsequent 8 that would be on there. There appears to be approximately 8 additional platted lots that may be sold.
What happens if the soil's no good?
This whole thing comes to a screeching halt. It really does. We've had the health department, local health department, as well as their regional rep that lives in the area on site twice, and they've taken surface samples. They have not gone with the full backhoe, which that's what these new samples require. It's a 4-foot trench, 12 inches wide, and it has to be the soils themselves. I was used to the old perk test. Well, they don't do the old perk test anymore. They're interested in the condition of the soils themselves that they excavate. And they review those, and if they determine that those soils do in fact have the bearing capacity for this drain field, then they approve it. And then then is when you start the process of doing the engineering work and all that type of thing.
Now, does each customer have their own septic tank and then it leaches somewhere now?
Yes. Each house has to my knowledge, has a 1,000-gallon septic tank in the front yard. Part of that agreement is we pump our septic tanks. We will have to pump them at least every 6 years. All the packaging plant right now receives is the outflow is just the liquid. That's one of the problems with the packaging plant. It's not receiving enough solids to operate correctly. By not receiving the solids, you can't grow enough bacteria. So that's one of the problems with it. This is really the best idea we can come up with, and we've talked to Division of Water, we've talked to Public Service Commission, just everybody that comes along. And this is a good solution for this. What we are basically is at your mercy to agree to do that about cutting the water off if you don't pay your sewage bill. One of the gentlemen mentioned that they would lose a water customer. It's no different if someone in town doesn't pay their water bill, or if they don't pay their sewage bill. If you want to cut them off, it's the same, operates on the same principle. Granted, this is outside of your sewage district, but it would operate on the same principle. Because I was raised in town. You know, if you don't pay your water bill, they cut your water off. That means
The only difference is though, in terms of the compensation that we're receiving, we're not getting the revenue from a sewer customer. We're only getting $6 per customer to handle the administrative
yes, I
expenses.
agree with that. So you would be but you know, as we stated, we're open to negotiate, maybe being able to increase that or whatever you guys determine. And I understand that, but
Who would tell us what the additional fees would be?
In what way, sir?
I understand that you're having a monthly sewer bill of X dollars.
Right.
Then you're gonna have an additional charge for mowing and maintenance, and if something goes wrong where you have to bring in an engineer, who's gonna be responsible for telling us those numbers? And
We've
that
got
sort
them
of
all
thing.
here in estimate right now. We still, before we actually get the sample reviewed and approved, we're kind of at.
Well, let's say you're 3 years into it and something goes wrong with the leach bed and it has to be repaired.
Right.
Who's gonna be responsible for that?
The association, right now, the association,
And then that will be passed on to the customer.
that's correct.
And you all will be telling us what those amounts are.
Amounts would be
Okay.
for on an annual basis. And they would be adjusted accordingly. If it happens 6 months into the year, we do the repair, whatever it takes. If it takes everything that was in the escrow account, then the escrow account basically gets extended so that it will accommodate over a period of 20 years the total amount necessary to replace the drain, or the leach field or the drain field.
Okay.
The other issue out there, there is a 8-inch PVC drain pipe, gravity feed along Tobacco Road. Most of you are familiar with that little community. There's only one road, and it's right straight down the middle of it. It literally dead ends at Ensign Road, at the foot of the berm at Ensign Road. So it goes, there is no other road in there after you turn off of 1559. The 8-inch drain line is on the right-hand side of the road as you turn into the subdivision. It falls to the existing package treatment plant. The intent is to open that line and connect that line to the drain field, hopefully by gravity. We're still into it a little bit with regard to water consumption issues with the division, with the Department for Public Health. And we hope that we will not have to do a dosing tank and a drain, or a pump, thereby incurring some electrical costs we'd like to get out of it if all possible. But right now, it's all by gravity, and that line, plus the easements, plus the properties for the drain field itself, and lot 21, where the plant currently sits, all those will be deeded to the association by the current owner. So there will be total control of that process.
The fixed cost that the association is going to be assigned, the fixed cost, that money is all that money go into the escrow?
Yes, no, well, it goes into 3 different accounts. One being the operating and maintenance account, the other one being the management account, part of which you all would receive for billing and bookkeeping and for the withdrawal of service. And then the third one is the replacement account.
So the accounts that the association is going to be required to establish is going to pay for all the maintenance and the operation of the system itself.
That's correct.
So, then I guess our question would be back to Bob is, can you do the administrative costs from here for the $6 per household? That's the thing you all would have to tell us.
What do you think, Jane? These are customers we already billed. But we're just looking at an additional amount on the bill and then writing checks, however often that worked out to be, monthly, quarterly.
Check back to the association.
Yes.
So you could set that sewer fee as a single payment, not a percentage of your water usage.
Correct.
Just do the garbage bill for the city.
We
have other pipelines.
Yeah, we have
That sort
other
of thing.
sewer pipelines.
What's everybody's pleasure? Have a motion to accept Bob's recommendation that we go ahead and
Do we need his contract and everything that he's gonna have with these people? Do we need to let our lawyer look over this to see if there's anything in there that's making sure we're not gonna be liable for something we don't know about?
We have old contracts of when we did this similar thing with the auction. I've got documentation that we would obviously want to use.
all they have to do is give us a hold harmless.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
We're totally free about sharing all these documents with you. I have several copies with me tonight of what we have today.
Is there a time frame that you need an answer from us before you can just go forward with something that you're doing? Or?
We're still gonna, our next step, and we are gonna try and, like, running through molasses with regard to some of these requirements, but we are trying to go ahead with the sample regardless. So, and that's gonna take at least a week to make all the arrangements for that, but
I mean, you don't have a time frame as to when you would want Paintsville Utilities to start using this $70 or something.
right, it would be, I think minimally, we're talking possibility when we actually do go to construction, we're talking about minimally I think a 2-week, we've heard a whole range of numbers, but I think realistically it's gonna be a 2-week construction. I have checked, the materials are all available on shelf. We can get virtually, not necessarily overnight, but we can get quick delivery on the materials. The design, engineers design and application. The engineer also has to submit the application. We think that's going to be minimally take us at least 2 to 3 weeks to get that buttoned up. So we're talking realistically at least 4 to 6 weeks before we would be in a position to be able to move on this thing. And then the 2-week construction period. And so it would be realistically 1st of December if everything moves the way we would hope it would move.
So you would want the December bill to be the one that reflects your fees you want to start doing?
If at all possible.
Does the homeowners already have an agreement with everybody up there that if they fail to pay their sewer rates, current charges, that they can be disconnected?
We've got, what we have circulated is the documents that we've shown you all, and there's 2 new ones that we have not been able to face-to-face. 2 new residents, they're young couples that were, as a matter of fact, stopped by their house again this afternoon, and when we leave here, we're going to go back out and see if we can't catch them, because they both work and they have out-of-home child care, so it's been difficult to track them down.
Because really, if you don't have that right,
It's
then
understood.
we can't exercise something you don't have on, regardless of who has it.
Well, with regard to the Department for Public Health, the way this thing is set up, they recognize this as a utility. Now, consequently, once they set that in place, that they approve this thing, then it does have the right. We would have to make sure that you all, the contract that we would do with you guys would in fact be submitted to the Department for Public Health, and they would approve that as well, as part of this arrangement. And at that point, it's already, that's the way the rule is set. Now, we are trying to, in a sense, double up on that. We're trying to do a separate agreement with the residents, all 7 of them right now. By the way, the 8th house it's actually owned, or the mortgage is through Kentucky Housing Corporation, and it's with a realtor in Pikeville right now, and he's aware of this circumstance is still in process. So all 8 homeowners we're trying to get, not only have we provided everybody copies of this, and they know the process, the 4 original homeowners are the ones that have hammered out most of the detail here and agreed to all this. We tried to get the other 2 involved. We're still in that process. And so finally, what we would do is get the health department so that there would be as much information provided to those residents that this is how the future is going to be, or otherwise it would not work. The bill is pretty astronomical, and we know that it's an inhibitor to virtually everything, house property values and all the rest of that, to try to get it resolved. And most of the folks out there are familiar with it and agreeable to it. It's just those 2 homeowners that we have not been able to actually track down. One of them most recently is, I think, 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks that the last house was sold.
How many of the homeowners currently comprised are on the Busch Gardens Wastewater Association board?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
How many of the homeowners are currently on the Busch Gardens Wastewater Association?
That's yet to be filed.
It's just to be formed.
Now, the articles of incorporation have been drafted. The bylaws are going to be pretty well boilerplate. It will be given to an attorney within, hopefully, same period of time that we're talking about here. And the way it's set up right now, there would be 3 of the homeowners elected to serve on the board, but all members, all residents would be members.
This truly would be a win-win for everybody in the association. Not only does it reduce your sewer bill, it will keep from having to use any available land that you have on your lot. And to be quite truthful, most of those houses do not have enough room for conventional leach field.
Yeah.
So you're in that catch-22 situation. One lady, to just give you a brief history, and I don't want to require your patience, but she's a widow lady with 3 kids. Her husband got killed on Route 3 up there on his way to work at the mines. Now she had built a swimming pool, then the issue of the sewer come up. She virtually, the only way she would have, even if she has room, is to fill her $20,000 pool in and put leach field in. And I know that really doesn't bear a lot on what you all need to decide.
I guess here's my rub. I don't want to get in a political situation where you've got 2 or 3 homeowners up there that disagree with you all and would rather go ahead and pay the $123 a month rather than paying $70 a month plus an unknown.
See, I don't think you'll have that issue.
But how do we know that unless everybody signs off on something?
Yeah, I agree.
I guess that's, well, here's my point. I guess if you all can get all the current homeowners up there to sign off on something saying you're in favor of this, I would be in favor of it.
I think that we could all say that we were willing to try to help the community, those 8 homeowners, to do the best that we can do. But you're gonna have to come back with some finalization. I mean, I don't know what kind of motion we could make. We could say, yeah, we will work with you if you get it all under hand, in hand. You understand what I'm saying? You're not ready.
Oh, understood. And what you all are saying is
We
right on
will
target.
be ready when you're ready.
You know,
Because
we were hoping that what you all are doing is agreeable in principle, and that's, we can take that and keep moving.
Yeah.
Because
I think
otherwise,
in principle, I think it's okay.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. If you could say, well, if everybody signs off, we're agreeable to do
If
that.
I'm
then-
understanding it right, the money that the association is going to be paying is a fixed cost. And that's going to go directly into their different contractual
Downstream.
arrangements,
right?
which we don't have to touch it. All we do is, how are we going to know if they pay it?
They're
They
gonna
pay
pay
us.
us.
They pay us.
Huh?
They'll pay us.
They're
The
going
money
to pay it to
the money
you.
will channel through.
They'll get the water bill, which will now also include the charges for the sewer plus fees.
And then you got to write them back a check?
We'd make a determination of how often that was done.
And it has to be audited, from our side of it, it's gotta be audited.
There goes the $6.
How come the property owner, not you as a property owner, but the Busch Gardens, how come that owner of the subdivision has not helped you all or tried to make everything work out?
Well, actually, they have, offering to provide the labor and equipment to build the drain field.
And they're giving the land, too.
And they're donating the land that's necessary for the drain field and potentially
In
future
doing
drain.
so, this is gonna wash them of any future issues or problems, because now they're basically donated to the association, say, okay, it's your
Well,
money.
their packaging plant would be decommissioned because there would be no more use for it. So then they wouldn't be liable to have a packaging plant, have repairs to maintain it. And that would get them up and under any, legal responsibility because that plant would no longer exist. Now, for us, we're gonna have the leaks filled. We gotta make sure people pay their bill. I agree, I think everybody will sign on if you guys tonight can tell us that, we agree in principle if everybody signs on. I don't need anything wrote in stone. I just need something to go back and tell people, like, we talked to them, they're in agreement, and this is what we need from you.
Let's do it this way. Do we have a resolution then, that, as we said here tonight, that, we agree in principle with what's been presented to us in terms of us handling the billing and the water disconnection in the event that that the fees for sewer and services are not paid? Yes. Everybody agree to that?
Yep.
A second on that?
Yeah.
All in favor? All right, we pass a resolution. We'll give you a resolution to that extent.
That's perfect.
And then come back and get everything done, and we'll address it with a motion. How about that?
That's ideal, that's all we need, but thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
The next item is Paladation Sewer Project.
Don't be a stranger, Roger.
See what?
Don't be a stranger.
Won't be.
Kelly Gillespie with Dell Engineering is here to address that.
Bob asked us to just give everybody kind of a quick update. And I think you all have a written report in your packet, is that correct? We met last Thursday, spent the better part of the day with some folks here in Paintsville Utilities staff. And we conducted a 60% design review meeting of the plans and specifications for Paladation. At this point in time, our plans are pretty well fully developed. Our intent was to look at alignment, talk about pump stations, talk about properties and those kind of things. And I think with the staff, we came to an agreement on our alignment and pump station locations. So we wanted to do that before we kept moving forward. Approximately 15 easements we're going to need on the project. So our next step with some high priority is to start writing Davidson centerline descriptions for those easements. And we'll want to move forward with trying to pursue those easements as quickly as possible. We're going to have two small grinder stations and one 80-gallon per minute station. The 80-gallon per minute station is relatively small also. So the next size up before we get out of grinder pumps. And we'll only have one connection where we've currently got it, one connection to the existing 12-inch force main. We wanted to minimize those connections coming into that force main along 1107. We also met that afternoon with Transportation Cabinet to review the alignment. One of our challenges we knew we were going to have is we needed to put the gravity sewer in all likelihood in Kentucky 1107, and we in fact have confirmed that. Verbally, they approved to that last Thursday, and we will try to keep that in one lane on 1107. They're going to be working with us to get us some details on bedding and backfill requirements. Current schedule, we hope to be in a position to submit plans to Division of Water in November, early December timeframe, and seek permission to advertise for renewal development in early 2018. That, once again, will kind of hinge on the progress we make on easements. In theory, we need to have all easements secured before we request permission to advertise. So I really see, we wanted to get a jump start on that because I do see that as one of our biggest challenges, getting all that.
Was there a right-of-way consensus out there as far as who owns what?
As far as individual property owners,
Or the
or
state? Like, what does the state supposedly have as right of way?
We haven't been able to determine that yet, Tim, but we're working on that. It's not a big issue, to be honest with you, because we're in the streets everywhere, so.
I'm just my own benefit.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that meeting or
Yeah.
go to it, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, we haven't been able to nail that down, but we're working to get that. If you can help us with that, that would be fantastic.
Go up the street and talk to, what you know, he's got every map in the world.
Okay. But that's, things are progressing quickly and smoothly. We've been in the field and conducted surveys. We were out there for a full week. I will say that in talking to some of the residents out there, the response has been very positive. I think people are eager and anxious to get sewers out there. So hopefully that's going to help in the easement acquisition process. I will say this, as you're all aware, there's another sewer project coming from Van Leer. We're going to tie into their pump station. And the one challenge that could present itself is if we're there before they are. So I know that project is somewhat in limbo at the moment. Is that correct, Bob? And hopefully it's moving forward, but it's been progressing and been on hold for a while. But we will be tying into their pump station, so that's budget-wise that will help on this project.
Now, if something should happen, Kelly, with the Van Leer project, would we need to put some kind of pump station in there to tie on and that?
As long as, at that point in time, Tim, as long as we're confident, 100% confident that project's going to happen, we can put everything in the ground and either have their contractor make a connection or have our contractor make a connection. It'll simply be a connection to the gravity system at that point. So it's going to be a pretty simple installation. It has to be done later.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
It doesn't matter.
heaven forbid theirs doesn't have.
We would have to add a pump station.
And would that be at the same location that theirs was going to be, or? we have to change it?
Actually, when we looked at this project about 3 years ago, that's exactly where we were proposing to put a pump station at that time.
Is that up close to Junction 302 then, or?
That would be a little south of there. You guys help me with, what's the name of that street back there
It's
that's,
close to the wide spot in the road after the cut.
Well, I mean, is it down 1107, maybe past the little horse farm?
It's
or-
on 302.
So it's on 302. So somehow everybody is going to get to that
correct.
place and then pump through our main line. It depends somewhere through
They will be pumping into your 12-inch force main that runs along 1107. And we will also through a separate pump station.
That's just one division of this project, would be sort of that pump station.
It will impact the smallest section of Paladition. The largest section of Paladition, it won't, what happens with that project and that pump station will not impact it at all.
there.
So we,
it's a separate pump station for the main bucket.
correct.
Where's that one going to be located?
That one's going to be located at a, there's a barn there. So we're going to be in that general vicinity, if you know what I'm talking about.
This one, the horse barn is right there.
Yes.
What is going on with the Van Leer project?
A bit of memorandum of understanding's been submitted, and it's under review by the, whichever cabinet that is.
Yeah, the last I heard from them, the engineer was still doing some additional design work on one part of it. Bob actually had an idea that changed it from
The upper end of the project was a long distance of gravity with very, very little flow on it, which could be problematic and very expensive initially. So we suggest they take a look at converting the upper end of a force main, and they're studying that now.
I thought the cabinet was the one that was the instigator of that project to start with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did they accept our force majeure
Yeah,
concept?
that's fine. All good.
Okay. Anyhow, go back, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's pretty much where we are. We've got our marching orders to move into final design at this point in time. So,
I guess the next item, you're at 3 on the miscellaneous water system improvement.
yeah, let me just roll right into that. That also, we spent the afternoon last Thursday going through that project. As you may recall, earlier this year, we entered into an agreement, and the first phase of it was a preliminary engineering report to investigate hydraulics, some low-pressure areas within your system. There's 6 areas in particular, and within your existing system in which you have low-pressure problems. So the preliminary engineering report we have is approximately 90% complete. In review with the staff, we have 2 areas that we're going to go back and take another quick look at, and I think within 1 to 2 weeks we'll have that wrapped up for final report. We did put that in a format that can be used for the funding agencies going down the road, so we don't have to go back and revisit that issue.
And you need permission from us to submit a project profile pre-application to BSADD?
That's correct. And what we would like to do to keep this thing moving forward, obviously, we need to seek funding for the project. And in order to do that, we need to submit a project profile to Big Sandy Area Development District to begin seeking funding. And also, do we want to look about going ahead and moving forward on design on that as well? The only reason I mention that will help us in scoring and as far as getting funding for the
Does
project.
this mean a possible rate increase?
This was already impacted, was it not? Yes. It's
It
already,
was already considered in the
It was.
previous,
So it's already fallen.
it's already built into the system, I understand it. Okay, we have a motion then to grant them permission to submit the project profile pre-application.
Make it.
Have a second? Second. All in favor? That motion carries. And also, do we want to go ahead and authorize them to start the
design.
design parameters or process?
I know this was your all's recommendation, Kelly, but I guess, Rick, did you agree with what they're saying on all these? Because I know there was option 1, option 2, and was any of those options that you'd rather see for our system that, you know, may cost a little more, it benefit us in the long run, or?
Well, that was the whole scope of this project, trying to figure out the best options. So,
And we have identified as a group what we felt like were the best options.
Just wanna make sure.
And
so
that's the
not
reason,
lowest.
yeah, that's the reason we're going back and look at two additional, 2 areas, not 2 additional areas. We're going to go back and look at actually a 3rd option in those areas.
Have a motion to that effect?
So made.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item is executive session.
Before we go to that, I skipped over this a while ago.
Okay.
Remember 2 years ago, we had the high readings on disinfectant byproducts as a result of the flood. Caused a lot of concern about the quality of our water. And we maintained at that point that was an isolated event that caused that. We just got our results back again for the 3rd quarter of 2017. They were outstanding, and actually that's 8 consecutive quarters following the flood with outstanding results. It's also posted back here. That's unfortunate the way that worked out. It kind of destroyed some confidence in the water, but this does show it was an isolated event.
Didn't keep temper right here.
Me either.
Still living, aren't you?
Still here.
You
All right.
did it and everything else. You can maintain.
Executive session.
We do it for personnel, working for personnel.
Next motion, go into executive session.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Go ahead, Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
I'm sorry?
You ready? Yep.
Make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Can we come out there?
I'm not opposed.
Anything to report?
The commission did give authorization for Bob to interview and make a recommendation on a new hire. Other than that, no action was taken.
Have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Third.
Carries 12.